Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode 51. Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so honored today to have with us, joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience, Kunbi Tinuoye. And she is the founder and CEO of UrbanGeekz. It's a groundbreaking video-centric African-American, Latino, and multicultural digital news platform focused on technology, science, and business. Kunbi, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? I have given our audience such a brief bio about you. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like us to know about you and your company?
Okay, so let me just rewind a bit so you can just get a little bit of background about me. So I think first and foremost, you can hear from my accent, I was born and raised in London, schooled in London, did a first degree at Cambridge University, and then I did a postgraduate journalism qualification. After that, I worked in the media, primarily for the BBC. I was a BBC journalist in the UK for a number of years. Then after that, I somehow made my way to Atlanta, which has been a phenomenal experience. And for about 4 years, I was a Southeast correspondent for a website called The Griot, which at the time was under the NBC MSC umbrella. So I did that for a number of years, working from Atlanta. And then I set up UrbanGeekz. I left The Griot and I just took this, just threw myself into really setting up my brand. What can I tell you about my brand? Maybe I can give you a bit of an idea of why I set up the platform. For about 4 years, I was a correspondent for really one of the biggest African-American brands out there. The Griot was, on par with Ebony, Essence, the kind of big brands. And it kind of niggled me a bit that we didn't really cover a lot of stories on technology, business science, and entrepreneurship. So that was really why, one of the reasons I set up the brand. And then that kind of coincided, I think about 2014, Facebook launched their employee demographics. There was a big push about 2015. Reverend Jesse Jackson was really behind that with the Push Foundation. And there was a really big push for the big tech companies to start basically letting people know their demographics. And I wrote a story, which really kind of, I would say, was a real turning point for me in The Griot. I pitched the story, because as I say, we weren't covering those types of stories. I just said, this is a great story, we need to cover it. And essentially, it just gave me a lot of insight into the industry. And I was like, wow, technology, when you think about technology, you think about innovation, you think about forward thinking, you think about something that's really at the forefront. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. These companies have so few women, and particularly minorities, in tech jobs, and not even in just tech jobs, in management roles as well. So hopefully but that's really why I set up the brand.
And so tell us, when you actually launched, what was the biggest accomplishment today in reference to setting up the brand and the launching of the UrbanGeekz?
Okay, so, I always say to people, UrbanGeekz is a bootstrapped digital news platform. It's a labor of love, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I literally launched with minute facilities. I just knew, minute resources. I just knew that I had to do this because I saw very clearly that there was a gap in the market. So, I just knew I had to do it. And I just basically, if you just want me to talk a bit about the launch, prior to launching, the site went live in February 2015. And prior to the launch, I knew that I wanted to, launch with original content. So I basically did a couple of, interviews. I interviewed Kimberly Bryant from Black Girls Code. I did a great profile piece on her. I did an interview with Hank Williams. who at the time was the CEO of Platform. I did an interview with an African-American entrepreneur in sort of a big play in Atlanta called Rodney Sampson. So I did about 15 to 20 original stories to really kind of kickstart the brand. So that's really how I did it. I just literally built the website, worked with a developer on a really low budget. We just built the website. Me and him went back and forth on the design. I had made sure I had some, great original content. And I just literally clicked the button and launched.
So where are you currently located? Where are you operating the business at now?
Still in Atlanta.
Absolutely. And do you feel that was the best city to launch?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly, and I would say everyone in London knows my story about how much I love Atlanta. It's like, I absolutely love Atlanta. I mean, it was just, obviously, this has really been the only real city that I've lived in since I've been in the States. But I just think Atlanta's a phenomenal place. One of the things I love about Atlanta is that there's a black middle class. You meet people of color who influencers and who are doing really something tangible with their life. So that's one of the things I love about Atlanta. The other thing about Atlanta, even though I'm not in Silicon Valley or New York, Atlanta has really got an emerging tech ecosystem that is really starting to grow. And, within the last, I would even say, the last 3 to 4 years, there's been a major influx of tech hubs, co-working spaces, accelerators in Atlanta. So that's another reason why I love Atlanta. The other thing about Atlanta that I love is, when I talk about my platform, I will say UrbanGeekz is, African-American, Latino as well, multicultural brand focused on business science, technology, and entrepreneurship. But at the same time, we do cover lifestyle and entertainment. So I was very mindful that I wanted to, I want to get people to read about tech and business and entrepreneurship. But, I know our audience. There's no harm in throwing in a couple of lighter stories as well. And as you know, Atlanta has got a thriving entertainment industry, which is, people refer to Atlanta as a Hollywood of the South. So for me, Atlanta has everything. It's got emerging tech hub. It's got, entertainment. It's got, you have a lot of corporate headquarters here, like Coca-Cola. So it's got corporate. So, and then obviously it's got a black middle class. So for me, Atlanta is a great, great place to launch a brand like this.
So Kunbi, what is a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
I think, and if I just talk in a very sort of generic term, I think I'm extremely hardworking, I really am. And, really when you set up, you have this idea and vision for a concept that you want to, take over the world. If you're really serious, you just got to be extremely focused and work really hard. So for me, it's consistency. I just keep on top of, as much as I can, on everything. One of the things I do, which is probably quite basic, but it helps me, on my iPhone, they have notes on the iPhone. And every Sunday, I just type up a list of all the things I need to achieve, relating to the company, and just mark those through. And actually, whenever I achieve an accomplishment, like, get this interview with X, Y, and Z, I sort of put a smiley face, which for me, on my own little way, I find quite encouraging and quite inspiring. It's like my things to do list electronically. So that's it, really. I think just work hard and just have a lot of focus.
So with you being in the technology space in terms of writing about it, and you mentioned notes on your iPhone, is there a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
Definitely. And one of the things, I'm hoping that anyone who has a digital platform is familiar with Google Analytics. I'm pretty sure most people are, but for me, Google Analytics is a really great tool for me. For listeners that don't know about analytics is a great tool for you to really see your traffic and see that, see traffic, see the demographics, who's reading your website? How are they accessing your website? Is it on a mobile device? Is it on is it on a desktop? So for me, Google Analytics has been a great tool. And one of the things I love about analytics as well, and if you dig a bit deeper, it tells me the stories that I've done really well. And it really breaks down. So I've got a real sense of how many people clicked on a story, how many people liked it. So it just gives you a real background. So the great thing about that, it gives you an idea of what kind of stories resonate, with your readers.
So what would you say, Kunbi, is working well now for you in business?
I think that's what's working now for me in business is that I'm really feel now we're starting to get, UrbanGeekz is an emerging news platform, but the brand I think is quite well respected. So that's just something that's really working well for me. And again, that was very, before we did, launching the website, I was very mindful of the visuals, because it's not just the content, it's the visuals and, how clean your website looks, the detail. So, when we launched, and you got to sort of think about my background as well. I'm very visual. I'm an ex-BBC journalist. So just having a really clean brand has really helped. And, so for instance, I won't say any names, but, I was speaking to someone quite high up at Yahoo, so pretty senior at Yahoo. And, we were sort of talking about the possibility of a partnership. And he was just like, your site's so clean. You know what I'm saying? So those are the kind of details that I think really, really matter. The other thing that I think is really working with a brand is I think for anyone to have a successful brand, there has to be, what's your unique proposition? What differentiates? You see what I'm saying? Because there's no point, and I've got a quote that I've always put up on, social media. There's no point duplicating the big players with limited resources. You need to think about something that's very innovative and original. So my thing that I always say, minority websites don't cover enough stories about technology, business, science, and innovation. The big tech blogs, I won't say the names, but you know who we're talking about. they don't cover enough about us. So for me, I felt that I was something very unique when we launched. So yeah, the uniqueness factor. And the other thing about the site, which I think is working for us, is that we pay a lot of attention to visuals. So for instance, I'm very into high-res pictures. Some sites, they may not pay that much attention, much detail to imagery. And then the other thing as well, UrbanGeekz is a video-centric site, which again is, quite unique. I edit. So, I edit content. If where possible, with the resources that we have, we'll do video interviews. And we also have a show, actually, a bulletin called Geeks Watch. So those are the things I think have really helped.
So when you talk about high resolution photos and videos, are you outsourcing that? Are you buying any specifically on the web? Are you making any recommendations, or are you, do you have your staff basically going out doing this themselves?
It's a combination of both. So for instance, we do have staff, if we go to an event, I do have photojournalists who would take the pictures. The other thing is not just, I keep on going back to the fact that the resources are limited. So you've got to be creative. You've got to be smart. You see what I'm saying? So, don't forget, if there's even a launch, there's an event taking place, they often have an official photographer. So I will make sure myself or one of my team track down the official photographer, and they give us high-res pictures. That's just that's something in terms of the imagery. In terms of video, as I say, we do that in-house. I can edit. So we've had some shows up on the site actually called Geeks Watch, and have a videographer. He actually he's an ex-CNN guy and does freelancing for Fox and some of the big places. So he's very experienced. So he will shoot and then I'll edit, or, me and him will sort of edit it together. So we do that in-house because obviously, we got to do as much as we can in-house because of resources. And we have the talent to do it in-house as well.
So Kunbi, is this the first business you launched?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So as I say, I think I mentioned a bit about my past. By trade, I'm a journalist. I did a first degree in political science at Trinity College, Cambridge, and I did a master's in journalism, and worked in print, and then so really in the UK, my career was really at the BBC, and then came here, worked for NBC. So yeah, this is the first business that I've launched. Absolutely, first time entrepreneur.
And so what advice would you give to someone in our audience that are listening to you and they would say, that's what they want to do. They want to launch. They want to start a business. They're fearful. What advice would you give them?
One of the things, and I've sort of said it already, but I'm very, I'll say this again, it's really important to have an innovative brand. Something that is quite unique. And that's what I've told you our unique proposition. There's no point, because you think about it, I had worked at the Griot for 3 to 4 years. I don't know if you're aware of the Griot, but it's lifestyle, race, and it's similar-ish to a lot of the other sort of minority brands. So you think about it, what sense would it make for me to go and do the same thing with pennies? Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, the first thing, sometimes I find that people are just flip-flop. They just want to be an entrepreneur for the sake of it. It's like really cool to be a technology entrepreneur, or even any kind of entrepreneur. So sometimes, people flip-flop between business ideas. You have to be driven by passion, because it's so difficult, so challenging. If you don't really believe in the concept and the idea and want to make a difference, it's not going to work. So, I really feel that you have to have, whatever your business is, it had to have impacted you, or it's something that you've seen, something that needs to be changed. It's something that you really have an association with. So, for instance, if you're a mother, and you've got, a baby, and you realize, oh my God, there's this, having a baby, there's this issue that's always, challenging for women that have babies. And you can see how it impacts other women, and you've got an innovative idea that you feel could make women's, a certain demographic's life easier. Go for that. Does that make sense? Go for what you're passionate about. Go for where you have some kind of affinity or association. So that's the biggest thing I would say. The other thing I would say, of course, is revenue, because I always say, if you ain't making money, or if you ain't got any kind of business model, it's a hobby, So, think about, your different revenue streams. How are you going to make money? And then you've got to be willing to be flexible, because sometimes, especially when you're a newbie, you have this, oh my God, we're going to make millions of dollars this way. It may not work. So you've got to be able to pivot and to be flexible. But really, you've got to think about revenue. Revenue is really, really important as well. How would you keep this business going?
So what is one valuable lesson you wish you knew before starting your business?
I wish I knew. Do you know what? I had no idea it was going to be this hard. And nothing has prepared me for how hard this has been. Do you know what I'm saying? And the other thing is as well, I think, especially with, when you first have an idea, people think they're going to make $1 million, or it's going to be huge, in a short period of time. It takes time. It really does, to build a viable business. But at the same time, and this is something that, I did a talk about this, at the same time, obviously, it does take time, and it is taken time for me, because this is a self-funded bootstrap operation. But at the same time, obviously, that if you get an investor, you're going to scale and grow a lot faster. So for me, we're going down the bootstrap, self-funded, self-financed, relying on customers and revenue to keep the business going. If you do that model, if you opt for that model, you've got to be incredibly creative, and you've got to be patient, and you've got to know that you are going to have some hard times, and that's why I say it has to be fueled by passion, because you're going to give up. If you get all these doors knocked in your face, and then you're looking at your bank account and thinking, how am I going to survive? If it's not fueled by passion, it's not going to work. So really, I would say the thing I would say is patience, and being realistic and thinking about your revenue models.
And that's really excellent, because when you think about minority businesses and women-owned businesses, the key is capital. And so a lot of them, a lot of business owners want to know, or individuals that want to start businesses, how do you raise that capital? And so you talked about bootstrapping. Hindsight 2020, would you do the same business model, or would you recommend going after investors?
Right. So what I need to let you know now is that we have had a lot of investor interest because the brand is, I think we've got a great brand. So we have had, quite a bit of investor interest. At the moment, I am slightly on the fence. And I say that because, and this is very unique to me, I say that because if I can generate revenue from business, I prefer to do that than generate revenue from an investor. Does that make sense? But saying that, particularly a lot of tech companies, you need to be able to, a lot of companies need capital to get to scale and grow. So, it's been a long, slow, hard path. You just really need to think about what's best for you. But I'm totally believe that capital, particularly for women and minorities, can be good for a lot of companies, because that's really what takes a lot of companies to the next level. The whole thing about, our minority firms is that one of the things where we struggle with is to scale and to grow. I'm sure that's one of the biggest issues, is how do you scale, how do you grow? It really depends on where you go, but capital is important. So are you asking me what advice I would give someone how to raise capital? Is that what you're asking?
Either or, if you wanted to comment on that, you definitely answered the question about, the fact that you had personally decided to bootstrap. It's not that you have decided against investors. That may be something that's future on the table. If you want to share with the audience in reference to raising capital, that is excellent also. Yeah.
And just to go back to bootstrapping, you're right. At the moment we're bootstrapping, we're seeing how far we can go. And definitely, just to tell the potential investors, we're not discounting an investor. We've decided to bootstrap. And one of the things, and the reason I say this, and I'm really passionate about this, is that there's so much emphasis on investors, and you see in TechCrunch, this person's raised $1 million and that they're successful. For me, I'm thinking, if you have a business, a successful business, for me, I'm saying, in my definition of a successful business is how much customers do you have? How much growth do you have? How much revenue do you have? What do you have smart revenue models? So for me, I'm thinking, sort that out first and make sure that you are viable. And then if you want, you can do it alone. Or if not, you can go the investor route. But in terms of capital, obviously for me, I think something that's really important is obviously the business idea. You have to have, investors, they're going to invest in a business that's scalable and that can grow. You know what I'm saying? Which is obviously why tech-enabled businesses are so popular with investors at the moment. So you've got to really think, there's certain businesses, that they're not just going to invest in. So obviously think about, what your business is and what potential does it have to scale and grow. The other thing as well that investors really like is to think about your potential market. How big could your potential market be? So for instance, if you say to an investor, this, what I'm doing is very disruptive, and we have potentially a market in the US, in Africa, and whatever. Investors, their eyes are going to light up. But just one thing I would just say is just really, one of the things that's really helped me, and I think this would help any, new entrepreneur, is to be really connected to the ecosystem. And I say tech because I'm in the tech space. So, for instance, I'm based at Atlanta Tech Village, which is the fourth biggest tech hub in the US. So it's just a great place to work, a great place to network, a great place to make contacts. And actually being in that space has really given me a lot of insight into how it all works. Do you see what I'm saying? Because sometimes I think, people of color, we don't really understand Do you know what I mean? How it works, the language, angel investors, VCs and convertible notes and all that kind of language that comes to the whole investor space. So really being in this co-working space. So I would say if you're an entrepreneur or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I would say get yourself attached to a tech hub or co-working space, and they're popping up everywhere now because you learn from your peers. Does that make sense? I mean, so if somebody who's working there will have a chat and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going through this funding round or that funding round, and it gives you a lot of insight into the space and how it all works.
And you would recommend that they go into a co-worker space even if they're not going to go into the tech field?
No, this is for tech. This is for technology. This is for tech. And actually, most of these spaces, to be honest, are geared towards technology. I mean, if you think about it now, people are looking. Well, in my head now, businesses should be, innovative, disruptive, And if you think about it, in my head, technology is what's going to enable that. So, it has to be a smart idea that's technology based. That's just, I'm not sure if, certain businesses just wouldn't fit in that model. But if you've got a great idea for a tech business, I would say, and really being at ATV has been pivotal to my success. Absolutely. Just being in that whole ecosystem. You understand what I mean? And the great thing about spaces like that, or where I am, you meet like young entrepreneurs who are literally just come out of somewhere like Georgia Tech, which is a great tech college in Atlanta, and they're just like, quite green, and they're like, oh, I've got a great idea. And then you have people there who have raised millions of dollars, have really got their head around the whole funding, round. They've gone Series A, Series B, they've had VCs. So you've got a really wide spectrum of people. And it's just a really great place to bounce ideas off people. So for me, actually, co-working spaces is pivotal. And if you're in Silicon Valley, if you're in New York, San Francisco, anywhere really, they're popping up. So I would say that's the first thing, especially, and I'm just talking about technology because that's what I'm familiar with. So that's what I would say.
So Kunbi, who are your top 2 influencers in life, and what lessons do they teach you?
Okay. I tell you who I would say who's my top influencer, who's somebody who's really made, a really big impact on my life, and I don't know if she knows it, but, when I first came, pretty new in the States, actually, I got this great gig, and I always thank God for that. And it was just really fitted my lifestyle at that time, as I say, at the Griot, which was owned by NBC, and I was a correspondent. And my manager was a woman called Joy Ann Reid. And I don't know if you're familiar with Joy, but she hired me. She was my manager. And she was just amazing. And I don't know if you're familiar with who Joy is. She now has her own TV show. She's really, really popular, smart woman, went to Harvard, really, really smart. She has a show called, I think it's called I Am Joy on, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, because I believe that she sits in for some of those guys. Anderson Cooper or whomever on one of those talk shows, one of the, I want to say, the newsworthy shows, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So Joy sits in, she covers for a lot of the main shows, but she's also got her own show as well. And what I just love about, Joy was just a completely different type of manager. And she's actually a pretty big influencer now in the media space. But when I was, working with her, she was kind of behind the scenes, but she was doing some reporting as well. But she's just amazing. And what I love about her is that she really gave me she was just a brilliant manager. And she's such a smart woman. And she really gave me the space to grow and develop. You know what I'm saying? Just to have a compassionate manager that brings out the best in you. So for me, I just think Joy is just, apart from her managerial skills, which are amazing, she's super smart, super talented, and just amazing, amazing all around. So she's an influence. I really admire her,
So it sounds like she was a great mentor manager.
Absolutely. She was just amazing. And I think, and you know what, and I'm saying this because, I'm sort of comparing it to experiences I had at the BBC. You see what I'm saying? It was just such a breath of fresh air to have somebody, and and she doesn't micromanage, but she gives you a rope long enough for you to grow. Do you know what I mean? And she trusts you enough. And just the other thing about Joy, I loved about Joy, she's just such an upbeat, inspiring spirit, always pulls up the team. So I don't know, I have a lot of respect for Joy. So she's someone I really, really respect. And then the other person is going to be probably an obvious choice, but I say that because I suppose is Oprah. Because Oprah is a media mogul, and not maybe I'll be a media mogul one day, but I just love the fact that she's just smart. She had her show, she's diversified, got own, she's just amazing. Oprah for me is just like a demigod. So she really is. I really admire her, just what she's achieved as a woman of color. She's high up there on the Forbes list. She's just someone who I just think is just amazing, and she's smart as well. If you look at, she's really, really smart. So those are I would say two, Joy Ann Reid, who I've worked with personally and now doing phenomenal things at MSNBC, and then Oprah, who obviously I don't know personally, but hopefully one day I will.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the other person.
So let's switch gears here. And so, Kunbi, tell us, what is the worst moment in business and what was your takeaway?
Oh, God. What's the worst moment in business? I think the worst moment, and even I've been there, it's just kind of like when you're running out of money. I've got to points and I'm like, how? Because even, being in a co-working space, there's still a monthly fee, and there's still commitments that you have to do. I mean, the worst thing is just like when you're so low on cash. Do you understand? I mean, how am I going to do this? But my takeaway, and this is actually one of the things I think actually bootstrapping has been a great thing for me, it's taught me to be incredibly resourceful and creative. When you have to be creative, maybe if someone gave me a check for $1 million, I wouldn't have stretched myself to this level. Do you see what I mean? For me, it's just made me really creative, really resourceful, and you got to be like laser sharp, when you're in the survival mode. So it was tough, and it has been tough, but it's made me it stretched me in a way that I never thought possible.
Now, did you ever envision with your education, the journey in journalism, that you would be an entrepreneur?
No, not really. Not at all. And that's why I say that Atlanta has been so great for me. Obviously, I've always seen myself. Well, I don't know. You know what? I mean, I would say yes and no. No, in the sense that, probably maybe if I had stayed in the UK, I would have just continued being, probably working for a reputable news platform, whether in television, radio, or print. I think I would have probably continued that path. At the same time, I do think, and I even think when I was younger, I've always had leadership qualities. So, when there's that's probably part of your personality. But I actually think Atlanta has been a major turning point for me, because for me, and probably the people that I associate with, in my circle, Atlanta has just been a breath of fresh air to see people of color, and these are obviously the professionals, just living, in some ways living their dreams, and maybe it sounds very idealistic, but, there are Black people in Atlanta who are doing extremely well, whether it's as an entrepreneur or in corporate America. Of course, it's not that, it's not, we know there's challenges and whatever, but there are people doing really well. So for me, Atlanta really opened my eyes to the possibility of living a different type of life.
So what do you see as the goal for the future with your brand and your business? So,
my goal is for UrbanGeekz to be a multimedia global brand. And that's really the goal. I mean, I want UrbanGeekz to be as big as TechCrunch. I want it to be as big as Wired, Mashable. I want UrbanGeekz to be, on par with like the biggest technology blogs or even the biggest minority blogs as well. So that, the vision is huge. I want it to be, a brand that everyone, like the way you mentioned certain brands and everyone's familiar with it. I want UrbanGeekz to be in that league. As I say, we have a show called Geeks Watch, and I really want to develop a lot more of the video side as well to the brand. So we do a lot more video. So that's one of the things that we want to do. And I've always said as well, UrbanGeekz, and you've got to know my background. Obviously, I was born and raised in the UK. I've spent a lot of time in Africa. Now I'm in America. So, I'm not like, I've got a very kind of global mindset. So for me, I've never seen this brand as being, just US based. The majority of my audience will be minorities, African Americans, Latinos, women and not even women, men, minorities, people of color in the States. But I definitely want to make sure that, we're talking about stuff that's happening in Europe and in Africa and Latin America as well. So I really see it as a kind of global brand further down the line, not just a US based platform.
So take us on the journey in reference to naming UrbanGeek. How did you come up with that name, and was it pretty easy?
Wow. Oh my God. It was just, oh my God. I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I actually came up and, oh my God. I spent so much time thinking about this name. There was a time I was flipping between UrbanGeekz and Urban Nerd. I couldn't decide. I really couldn't decide which one I wanted. So I really, really went. And that's another thing as well. When it comes to branding, everything's in the detail. You got to have a great name, a great memorable name that's catchy and quick. I would say 2 syllables. So I really went, oh my God, there's so many different names. It was like, it took me a long time until I finally, and I remember I was talking to someone, he's like, you can go over Urban Nerd. And then I even remember looking in the dictionary and someone was saying, geeks has slightly more positive connotations than nerd, and then I put the Z because I thought Z was a bit cool. So it was just literally brainstorming, pure brainstorming. That was how I came up with the name. And I think I even got to a point when I was just like such stalemate. I didn't know what to do. I think I went and I was like phoning all my trusted friends. What do you think? I emailed people like 6 names. What do you think? So it was a long process to come up with. It really was, because the name is so important. Really, really important to get the name right. So it was just brainstorming, back and forth brainstorming.
So Kunbi, what do you do when you hit that bump in the road? How do you adjust and reset?
Oh, I think I've had many bumps, particularly on this crazy journey. I just think I think the thing is, once you just are so focused on the potential for your brand, where, how far you can go, you have the vision, you have the passion, that kind of resets me, because I really have. I mean, I went through a really challenging period like on the technical side, it was just so horrendous. And I couldn't resolve it. And it's still not completely resolved, actually. And it kind of has affected the site a bit. And I was just like, I can't. I literally, I phoned my social media manager and I'm like, I've got to give up now. And I'm just like, you've come this far. You can't give up. You've got to really believe in the product. And I think that's what it is. I really believe in the brand. I also, there's a bit of a social, maybe enterprise side to it. I am extremely passionate that I want to be part of that whole conversation about women, minorities in the tech space. I want to actually have a brand that makes an impact. If somebody, and you see my brand, we don't just do pure tech, it's, there's different types of stuff. But if I could be a brand where some, young girl, just about, if I can inspire someone to, someone that looks like me to get into technology or to get into entrepreneurship, then I think I've done my job. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, there's a real purpose and passion behind what I'm doing. So I want to inspire people. I want people, that look like me to work at Facebook, to work at Google, because, these are the jobs of the future. And you always got to, that's why I'm so big on technology. You always got to look at where things are going. They've already done studies about, what jobs, in the next decade are going to be, the most impactful jobs. And it's all based around technology. So if we're not part of that, if someone that looks like me is not part of that, we're going to be lagging behind. You know what I'm saying? So I really want to be part. I really want to make an impact. So that's probably what pushes me when I just think, this is just too much work. Why am I doing this? Why am I like, do you know what I mean? In this situation, so pushed and stretched, and then that's what really brings me back as well. And then I think just the overall picture, having such a big vision kind of keeps me going as well.
So what would you say to date is your biggest achievement so far?
Oh my God, we have done so much. Oh my God. I mean, God, we've achieved a lot, and which has been amazing. But, I may have to list a few. I mean, I'm extremely proud of the fact that we've partnered with AT&T. We've done a partnership with 20th Century Fox. Even now, we're doing banner ad campaigns, and this is through an advertising agency with AT&T. So, we partnered with great brands. I probably should get my pitch deck up and try and remember. We've done big name partnerships. One of the things I'm extremely proud of as well is, as I say, I'm a member of Atlanta Tech Village, which, it's a tech space, so, there's a certain demographic. So I approached the management team there because, I've been there for maybe about 2 years now. And actually, and I approached the management team. I said, why don't we run a competition whereby we could bring a woman of any demographic or an underrepresented minority into this space and by a competition between, that was a collaboration between UrbanGeekz and Tech Village. And Tech Village is a really cool place to be, kind of looks a bit like the Google campus, great place in Buckhead, which is a, great kind of cool area. So what I'm really proud of is that I actually approached the management team and pitched the competition to them. And they were like, yeah. And I'm extremely proud that, we managed to get, I was one of the judges, and we managed to get, young guy, Justin, who's the founder of Event 10 in. And, we gave them 6 months. We gave them a space for 6 months, rent-free space, which for me was great. And the other thing I'm really proud of, it wasn't just that we impacted one person's life, which we did. I really felt it sent the message to some, certain types of is for them. Do you know what I'm saying? You might not think they're comfortable or welcome there. I really felt that it sent out the message that ATV is open to anyone who's got a great technology idea. So for me, that's something I'm really, really proud of. But yeah, we've just done, we've done great partnerships. I won a pitch competition that I'm proud of. Just so much. We've had lots of press. We've had a lot of achievements. Even in Georgia as well, the Georgia Technology Association, they formally recognize UrbanGeekz, and a company that's impacting the startup ecosystem So there's been a lot of achievements. And even just recently, I don't know if you're aware of an accelerator called 500 Startups. They're based in Silicon Valley. One of the big accelerators, and we just did a partnership with them, which is quite a big thing. So we've done a lot. There's been a lot of milestones and achievements along the way as well. So it's been amazing.
So, Kunbi, what book would you recommend and why to our audience?
Okay, so I tell you a book that really made a big difference in my life. It's not recently published, but I that was just something that really impacted me. I remember reading this a couple of years ago when I was young, and a book called The Value of the Valley by Yang LeVan Sant. That book was such an impactful book on my, just so much impact on my life. And what it was really showing you, and which is actually, I think, life. People have this kind of rose colored, people just a very, unrealistic view of life, that it's always going to be amazing. What she was talking in her book is that, the process of, the valley is when you go down, you have challenges and real sort of difficulties in life. And the whole concept or the premise of the book is talking about the value of actually getting down and then coming up. And for me, that was just, have you heard of that book? It's amazing.
I have not. I'm going to have to check it out. I do know her as an author, and she's just amazing. Yeah. So that is really good.
Yeah, that book it's such a powerful book, just so powerful. And it kind of even, sort of teaches you, how you get yourself in really bad situations, because, sometimes we do. And then how to get out. For me, it's more like, it's a real kind of, what can I say, a self-development, self-awareness book. But that was a great book for me.
So if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you, and I'd like you to answer that question?
Oh, Lord. What's the one? I don't know. I mean, you've asked me about my vision. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. I've just gone blank.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That's okay. That just means from a journalist to myself that I've done my job. So I am like really, really pleased.
You're going to edit that bit of me.
Maybe not. So why don't you share with our audience a parting piece of advice you want to offer?
Okay. And I've probably said this already, but I really believe that if you want to run a business, become an entrepreneur, it has to be fueled by passion and a connection to the problem. Because really and truly, if you think about what is a successful business, a successful business is resolving some kind of issue or problem or pain point for a particular demographic. That's really what a successful business is. Or maybe providing a service that hasn't been provided before. But it has to be, and I really emphasize this, has to be fueled by passion. And that's why I say, for me, if you look at my journey, I was, working for, one of the big minority brands. And I was there and I saw that I felt that something, there had to be, something needs to be changed. So I had a personal connection to the problem. So I think you have to have a personal connection, because there's no point just saying, oh, I want to do this, and you've not, you want to do, I don't know, something medical, and you're like, you've got no experience or history in it. But definitely passion. It has to be passion fueled. Otherwise, you're going to give up. Yeah, you will, because it's so challenging. You will. So that's why passion has to be the driving force.
And Kunbi, we're come to the part of our podcast. It's called the Fun Facts Lightning Round. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And I want you to give me very quick answers. If it's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. You ready for the lightning round?
Absolutely.
The last movie you saw?
Oh my God. What was the last movie I saw? Oh my God, I don't even watch that much TV. Pass, sorry.
You relax doing what?
I relax. I love swimming. I absolutely love swimming.
And your favorite singer or rapper?
Favorite singer or rapper? I do like Beyonce. I think she's cool, particularly with the whole Lemonade thing. I think Beyonce is cool.
And your favorite dance song?
What's my favorite dance song? YMCA. YMCA.
And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
What food do I eat every week, no matter? Do you know what? I probably every week now make sure I eat a salad. Definitely.
And your favorite month?
My favorite month, I'm a summer baby. I love summer. So let me just say June.
Thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. And before we close, what is the best way, Kunbi, for our audience to connect with you, your brand, and to support your business?
Okay, so really the best way to connect with us is to go to the website and read off, phenomenal content. Read and watch, because it's text and video. So the website URL is UrbanGeekz, which is URBAN Geeks, which is GEEKZ. I'll say that very loud. .com. Best thing is to go to the website, and obviously and even there, I could give you all our social media, but it's all on the website. So yeah, go to a website, read our content, click it, share it, and then obviously follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. Those are the main social media outlets that we're on. So follow us, and share our stories.
Thank you so much, Kunbi. That is a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.